fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. For your latest news and high school sports, tune in to the fish report. Don't need no bed, don't need no pull. When you tune in to the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. You got Craig and TK and had that deep.
Report Live Show with your hosts, Craig Fissinger and Ken Francis.
Tune in to the fish report.
Welcome, everyone, to another Fish Report Live. I'm Craig Fissinger, and no, that is not Ken Francis. That is Kyler Ludlow sitting in for the vacationing Ken Francis tonight. And back in the sound room, of course, we have TK and Heavy D. We'll be checking in with those guys in just a few moments. And Kyler, welcome to Fish Report Live.
Yeah, thanks so much. Longtime fan. I was honored to be called to see if I could fill in. Big shoes, but I'm glad to be here. Yeah,
filling in for Ken is definitely big shoes to fill, but we think we got it right tonight. And, here at Fish Report Live, we kind of just pretend like we're sports guys, but we're excited because you're the real deal. You've actually got a sports background. You got a sports job now. So for our viewers out there that don't know you, why don't you fill us in a little bit about your background?
Sure. I graduated from Fort Laramie High School in 2007. I went to Cedarville University down near Springfield. Graduated in 2011 there and started working in sports information down there, which is when you're reading DaytonFlyers.com or OhioStateBuckeyes.com. The sports information directors are who are writing all that, and started working with them and wanted to get into broadcasting as well. Was very lucky, got a great job with the Lansing Lugnuts right out of college and worked with them for a summer. Single A baseball was incredible. And then went down to Florida for 3 years, kind of pulled my own LeBron James, left Ohio for a short time and worked at a Division II school down there and loved every minute of it. But then an opportunity came up to work at the University of Dayton, and I've been a Flyer faithful for a really long time, and I had been longing for that opportunity to kind of pull my own LeBron and come back home, but be a Dayton Flyer, and now I'm back and loving it.
Yeah, I'm sure local friends and family are glad to have you back here in Ohio, and you're going to be excited because tonight we're going to be talking a lot of baseball, including that interview we have coming up a little bit later with Houston coach Brad Allen. First time we've ever talked to him. Looking forward to that. And speaking of baseball, you've got some background with one thing we talk about on this show a lot is state champions, and you've got a state championship with the Fort Laramie Redskins on their baseball team back in 2007. Actually played for Coach Bill Sturwald, who we had on this show just a few weeks ago. I want to get a player's perspective for playing for Coach Sturwald. What's it like playing for that guy, and why has he been so successful?
I think when my first impressions of Bill, my dad being superintendent, I kind of got in when I was in junior high doing his scorebook, and I was deathly afraid of him. And so when I started, that was kind of just do what Coach says because you're afraid of him kind of thing. And then playing 4 years of varsity, Jared and I both did. And so we kind of grew up with Coach along with that, because I think the guy who's there now is a lot different than the guy who was there 10, 15 years ago. And playing for him was awesome. It was get your job done, get it done right. And if you don't get it done right the first time, do it the second time. And it doesn't matter if there's 2 strikes with a bunt, you're still putting it down. And state semifinal game against Fremont St. Joe's, I bunted one foul, bunted the second one foul, and with a runner at first base in a 0-0 game in the 4th inning, he still gave me the bunt sign with 2 strikes. And that kind of epitomizes what it was playing for the guy. But at the end of the day, looking back now, years later, I learned a lot of things from him that at the time didn't feel like lessons necessarily, but sending mothers cards on Mother's Day every year was always something he made sure we all did.
Wow.
And little things like that at the time you're just like, oh, okay, sure, $1.50 at Hallmark, whatever. But now you look at it and there's little lessons that he taught us that I think everybody looks back, and Jared would tell you the same thing, that he helped us become better baseball players. But looking back now, it's like I'm definitely a better person, better young man because of playing for him.
Well,
So
that's good stuff there.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Jared a couple times, and of course you're talking about Jared Hoying,
Yep.
Teammate of yours on the 2007 state team. Of course, Jared is still playing baseball with the Texas Rangers organization, and kind of seems like he's been stuck in AAA here for a while. And from a fan's perspective, from fans like us, a little frustrating for us not to see that guy moving on up. And I'd like to know, do you still keep in contact with Jared, and what's your opinion on his situation right now?
Yeah, Jared and I still talk. I like to text him, usually not when he's doing well, but when he's struggling, just to say like, hey man, you're there for a reason. Just a little cheer up, and he might say like, yeah, I went fishing today. It was exactly what I needed, or something like that. But Jared's situation is a tough one, and one that multiple people outside of Fort Laramie and the Texas Rangers I've talked to are wondering kind of the same things that we all do. And I know Brad Turner kind of started the hashtag HoyingWatch on Twitter, kind of tongue-in-cheek a while ago. And now there's actually people like Texas Ranger organization people who are using the same hashtag when Jared's having a great start to the year. And so I think Jared's mind's in the best place it could possibly be, because he's just going out and doing the job the best he can every day, and that's what he's focused on, and the results are taking care of themselves right now. He was hitting around 286 coming into today and was 1 for 3 with a walk and hit the ball hard a couple of times. I was watching him in the office, and my boss is a guy who has a son in AAA for the Astros, so they play each other quite a bit, and he's seen Jared every step of the way, and he's just as frustrated or just in awe of the fact that he's still just kind of resting in AAA. But Jared's got the right mindset, and whether it's with the Rangers or it's with somebody else, he's putting in the work that I'm confident in him that he's going to get that chance.
Yeah, one thing about Jared we've noticed, and I know a lot of people notice, is that through all this, he still remains a very humble guy, and comes back and does things for the community, and does things like camps. And my son went to a camp that he was a part of at one time, and talked about holding a bat, and I think he compared holding a bat to holding a fishing pole. He said, now, are you going to grip that fishing pole as tight as you're gripping that bat right now? He said, no. And he kind of explained things, and just some stuff that I know my son will always remember, and very nice of him to come back and do things like that.
And Jared and I, growing up, went to a lot of camps together, and we played in fall ball leagues together, and we'd go up to Napoleon, Ohio to play in fall league games on Sunday mornings, and we were just nuts about baseball. And so when he's giving back to the next generation of kids coming through, it's no surprise to me, because we were those kids 15 years ago, sitting in a cold gymnasium on a February morning, just soaking in from guys like Corey Vance from Vandalia Butler, who played at Georgia Tech and got drafted by the Rockies. Like, that's a guy I still remember to this day. He had nothing more than a cup of coffee, but I think just like it stuck with me, it's Jared's same way. He's a great guy, and you want to see the great people get those chances, and hopefully it'll happen in Texas. If not, it'll happen somewhere.
Yeah, we're certainly rooting for him back here, and that's for sure. One of the things we do on the show, Kyler, every week, one of the things Ken does is reads our viewers a poll question. So you're going to have to help us out with that tonight. Okay. And for our viewers out there that are watching us on the Fish Report Live page right now, they can actually scroll down on the page, help us answer the poll question, and check the results. If they're watching us right now on NK Telco or GameFace Ohio, we will give them those results at the end of the show. Sure. So why don't you read our viewers tonight's poll question?
Yeah, sure. Which baseball player is the toughest out in the SCAL? Luke Albers of Anna, Jonah Counts of Russia, Dylan Hensley from Houston, or Travis Hilgefort from Fort Laramie?
At 4 very good hitters that you mentioned right there. All those guys are in the top of the statistics in the SCAL right now, and all those guys, I believe, batting over 400 right now. So I'll be curious to see who our voters pick as the toughest out in the SCAL. All right, well, let's move back to the sound room, Kyler. I want to check in with TK back there. And TK, I know we're still in the regular season, but there was a little thing called the tournament draw this past Sunday. So since we're talking SCAL baseball tonight, kind of want to know where those SCAL teams are who they're playing, where they're going, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you're right, Craig. Getting into that tournament time, baseball is a quick season, and tournament is already here upon us, even though it doesn't seem like the weather's broken quite yet. A lot of rain and cold out there, but let's look at Division III Shelby County activity. Of course, in Division III, it's the Anna Rockets. They're in the Dayton 2 bracket, as you can see there. Of course, Anna having a great season, 14-1-1. Took the bye. They'll take on the winner of a Dixie East Clinton game that starts on the 9th. I look to them to be all the way out and make it out to that championship game. Expect them to play West Liberty Salem, a team that anybody that went down to watch the Raiders last night at Fifth Third Field got to see West Liberty Salem and Cedarville go to a 10-inning game. They were the first of the doubleheader at Fifth Third last night. And just to let you know, West Liberty Salem did have a couple pitchers thrown in the 75-plus range. We saw 2 or 3 of their pitchers. We got to see the last 4 or 5 innings of that game. So a nice team with some nice pitchers. So that'll be a game for Anna there. Looking into the D4, Troy won. That's where Fort Laramie ended up, along with Fairlawn and Jackson Center. Those 2 teams, Jackson Center and Fairlawn, start off Monday night. Laramie getting the winner of Jackson Center Mechanicsburg. Those should be some good games there. Fort Laramie, of course, always ready for tournament play. I think they'll probably walk right through that game on the 11th, and we'll see what happens as they head into probably against Triad. Looking at Troy 2 is where the rest of the Shelby County teams ended up. That would be Houston and Botkin starting things off on May 9th against each other. Lehman taking the bye and getting the winner of that game. Russia takes on Riverside, the Pirates out of the Northwest Central League. They will play on the 11th. A little bit about the Pirates. Again, they're out of the Northwest Central Conference. They're 10-2, right behind Lehman in that league, who's 10-12. Just to compare them, Riverside went 2-0 against Sydney. Russia also 2-0 against Sydney. Riverside topped Botkins, as well as Russia did the same. And Riverside beat Jackson Center. So it looks like it could be a good game for the Raiders. However, the Raiders are playing some good ball right now. Coach has them playing well. We saw them last night at, again, Fifth Third Field as they ruled a team from Allen East last night. So it should be a good game, but I see the Raiders taking that one too. So.
TK, you mentioned those at Lehman and Riverside, and both those teams have very good records, of course. Always so hard for us to gauge those teams, though, unless we play them. It seems like not many common opponents between the 2 schools. They play that NWCC schedule, and then they play a lot of teams that I guess we frankly don't normally play. And so it's, you don't want to underestimate them. They got a lot of players with a lot of good stats. If you look at the Saturday paper, a lot of guys with high batting averages, but it's just hard to tell until you go head to head with them, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It seems like that in every sport. We do this in basketball. We do it in volleyball. As we get to tournament time, you're trying to find comparison and equal teams. Kind of wonder sometimes why Russia doesn't travel a little bit more and have some more of that experience outside. Go to the Ohio Heritage Conference a little bit more, or other places. But yeah, you kind of have to look at comparative opponents and see what you can get out of it.
Yeah, good stuff, TK, and thanks for that. And Kyler, one nice thing about high school baseball compared to professional baseball is that, in the pros, you got to have a certain record, or you got to be the top in your conference or your league or whatever, I guess, to get into the playoffs. Whereas in high school, of course, everybody makes the playoffs. So it's a brand new season, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been on both sides of that you get upset early on by a team that, if you're playing like a Major League Baseball or minor league baseball, wouldn't even have made the tournament. And but then been on the other side of beating a couple teams that they're like, what is this team doing at this point? And so it's definitely fun. One of the reasons why the high school baseball, softball, all the high school baseball tournaments around the country are just so great to watch. And Florida was a whole different level of players down there, because you're talking about kids getting drafted all the time. But those first round tournament games, when a big team would get upset, were just earth shaking almost. The media went nuts for it. So it's definitely a great time of year.
All right, good stuff there. And listen, we're going to take a short break, but stay right there, because when we come back, we're going to talk some more baseball, including that big interview with Houston coach Brad Allen.
Stage at the leaving van. Music starts at 8 o'clock. You can find us here every Wednesday night. It's usually the same cats every week, but I can't tell you all their names. A teacher, a cat, and a junkie, all waiting for time to play. Everybody here's got something that we're trying to leave behind. We're all a little broken, looking for a place to hide. Get no answers, don't ask any questions. We're all here just looking for a high. And we're all beautifully broken here tonight.
Welcome back, everyone, to the second half of Fish Report Live, and we're here tonight with special guest host Kyler Ludlow. And before the break, we were talking some baseball. Going to talk some more baseball, but before we do that, I want to go back to the sound room again and check in with Heavy D. It's time for his weekly segment on famous TV shows that Fish Report Live has either tied or passed up. Heavy D, tonight is episode number 156 for Fish Report Live. So what classic TV shows did we either tie or pass up tonight?
Yeah, I scoured the web in TV land, and let me tell you what, we got some real Jim Dandies tonight, Craig. First one, let's talk about the Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles.
I think you got that bad. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, of course. I remember those guys.
If you still have the original figurines in the cases, they're going for eBay for like 35 cents a piece. So hold on to them. Someday they might be worth something. You remember the cast of characters. They all had like Italian names like Pastrami and Rigatoni and Luigi and Mario.
Leonardo. I remember Leonardo.
It wasn't Pastrami?
No, Leonardo. I know there was a Leonardo. I don't know about the rest of them.
All right, let's move on. So, Simon, West Wing, you talk about some characters here. We got Rob Lowe trying to do his thing in the West Wing, and Martin Sheen. Even Alan Alda made a few guest appearances there, so we're blowing by them.
He was the president, wasn't he? Was that? Do you remember that show? It was some kind of drama. I remember the name, but I think Martin Sheen was he might have been the president of the United States.
He was the president.
Yeah. All right. That's next.
The kind of like the shadow president was like Rob Lowe. He was kind of like a Bill Clinton-esque kind of guy. But let's move on. And lastly, but not leastly, we've got Rick and AJ from Simon and Simon.
There we go.
If you grew up in the 80s, not only did we have bad music, but we also had Simon and Simon, which wasn't too bad of a show. So
those guys are probably a little bit too old for Kyler here. We got 81 to 89. Was you around for that stuff?
I was not.
Okay.
1 year.
That's Sesame Street, TK.
These guys were great. I loved it. It was didn't they have a cool car or something too?
Probably a Charger or something.
Yeah, they were good guys, brothers, and of course you had the good-looking one, and then the tough one over there in the red sweatshirt
with the big mustache.
Great '80s show.
Wait.
There we go. There's some
Feather it in.
Simon music.
Start low, come high. There we go.
Good stuff there. They, I think that in the previews they might have been jumping a car. Maybe that's Dukes of Hazzard. I don't know, but I think they were. There was some kind of car involved there.
And there was guns and probably hot women. I don't know.
Dukes of Hazzard in the city.
Yeah.
Good stuff there, guys. And I know you're going to amaze us again next week with some more shows, aren't you, Heavy D?
We'll find something.
All right, guys, thanks for that. And let's get back to a little baseball talk. And Kyler, we were talking about the tournament draw before the break. I mentioned we still have some regular season left. And one game in particular, regular season game, was last night. Our hometown Russia Raiders took on Allen East down at Fifth Third Field. And, what's it like for a high school kid? What kind of excitement is it to play on a field like that, a minor league field?
It's incredible, and especially at Fifth Third Field, that's so beautiful and so well kept that you really feel like you're walking out into something big time. And there's other minor league fields that are nothing compared to Fifth Third, and so that combined with you've usually got a lot of people coming down to watch you, it's a great experience. My only experience, we only played there one time. My senior year was the first year we did it, and we lost to New Bremen. But I had 2 hits in the game. Not that I take that for any solace, but it was a great time. And you're in the dugouts that the future big leaguers are in, and everything about it. You don't get to go in the locker room or the clubhouse, which is kind of the only bummer. But it's still it's a great time, and the fans usually get to have a pretty good time too. So it's a really great experience for the high school kids.
Yeah, speaking of those future big leaguers, I didn't get down there last night for the Rushi game, but I have been down there for some Dayton Dragons games before, and you see the players out there in the field, and they're, they look like big leaguers, they're acting like big leaguers. You've got experience broadcasting those type of games. Yep. What are those guys? I mean, are they rolling in the money? Are they going out to fancy dinners every night? What's it like for those guys?
No, you kind of have two sides of it. That you've got some bonus babies, guys who are drafted in the first, second round for millions of dollars, but they get a $20 a day per diem, and a lot of the guys would, especially from the Dominican or from somewhere in Latin America, would take that $20 and go get a $5 footlong back when that was still a thing, and they would eat half the sandwich for lunch, half the sandwich for dinner, and pocket the $15 to send back home. And so it's really not a luxurious life for anybody, and the long bus rides aren't great. Usually your food is limited to what's exactly around you, which in Dayton's actually pretty good because you're up at that exit north of 70 there that has pretty much anything under the sun. But it's a tough life that it makes sense when guys kind of hit that end of the road that's like, this is it for me. And I was fortunate enough to watch a lot of future big leaguers when I was in Lansing, and so it's been fun to watch them. It's harder to root for my one team when you've got guys on 5 or 6 different major league teams that you want to watch Noah Syndergaard play well because you saw him when he was an 18-year-old and those kind of things.
One guy I know that's making big money in baseball and probably eating fancy dinners every night is our next guest. He's Brad Allen, head coach of the Houston Wildcats. Happy to have him live on the phone right now. Coach, welcome to Fish Report Live, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate being on.
All right, we're just talking about the professional baseball circuit and the money they make. The high school circuit, I know you're probably in it for the big paychecks and the fancy dinners every night, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm real familiar with that. Exactly.
All right, well, listen, Coach, I'm in the studio tonight with our special guest host, Kyler Ludlow. We were just talking about the Rushi Raiders playing on Tuesday night down at Fifth Third Field against Allen East. Is that anything that Houston has ever done, or is that something you'd be interested in doing in the future?
Yeah, Houston has a history of playing down at Fifth Third Field. Did that probably 6-7 years ago. I wouldn't be opposed to having us go back and play baseball there. They got a really nice facility, and they do a nice job promoting high school sports, and that's something Houston would be able to do in the future.
All right. Well, listen, I got a chance to watch you on Monday night playing our Rushi Raiders, and Coach, I think you're sitting at maybe about 6-4 right now in the league. And while this isn't a team that's going to win the SCAL this year, you look like a team that is capable of maybe winning it next year or the year after, and that's because you have a lot of young talent on this team. Are you happy with the performance of your underclassmen right now?
Oh, absolutely. These guys came in. They're learning every day. They're getting better every day. They're really comfortable. They're smart players, and that has a lot to do with our success. We have a sophomore center fielder and Noah Shoemaker, who leads off and does a pretty good job with production at the top of the lineup. We have a freshman shortstop, Kyler Ludlow. We have a freshman second baseman in Tristan Freisteller. And here, as of recent, we've had a couple freshmen come up and give their opportunity and taken advantage of it. They're playing some good defense in our corner outfield position. I know that juniors aren't underclassmen, but we do have 3 juniors that are playing pretty well for us right now, coming back next year as seniors. They all pitch. Isaiah Beaver, Dylan Hensley, and Caleb Freisteller. And Dylan and Isaiah play corner at infield, and Caleb plays the outfield infield, and they all, like I said, pitch. So yeah, we've got a pretty bright future here in the next couple of years.
Hi, Coach. It's Kyler Ludlow. Craig mentioned the youth on your team, but you have a bunch of seniors as well, as you just said. One of those seniors is Zach Jolly, the talented pitcher who broke the school record for career strikeouts earlier in the season. How important is Zach to your team?
Zach's very important. I think it's important that any team have a nice, solid ace that they can turn to and know that they're going to be in a good chance to get a nice win for the night when he goes out on the mound. Zach has got a very nice fastball. He's got one of the best backdoor curves I've seen, and keeps the hitters off balance. And right now he's at 6-1. He's got a couple saves. Right now he's got a 1.0 ERA, I believe, 65 strikeouts. And as you mentioned, he broke the career strikeout record, and right now he's standing at 235 strikeouts for his 4 years here at Houston.
We were talking about the tournament draw earlier in the show, and you guys get started on Monday taking on Botkins, and you just played them last night and beat them 10-4. What kind of attitude do you take into that tournament game?
Well, we're going to go in confident. We're not going to go in cocky, and that's the message we're going to leave with the boys. We got to go in, make the routine plays, put the ball in play, get our runners in scoring position, and get some good timely hits. And if all those come together offensively, then we got a pretty good chance. On top of good pitching and good defense, and I think we can have a nice little run in the tournament.
Well, Coach, I'm going to go a little off subject here, but not only are you the varsity baseball coach, but you're also the varsity girls basketball coach there at Houston. A little earlier this year, Minster baseball coach Mike Wiss thought about doing the same thing and then taking on their girls basketball program, but then he decided against it because of the workload. How do you manage two big jobs like that?
It's got its challenges, but I think overall doing a good job with that. Its organization is one, and you got to be organized to handle both. I also think that you have good supporting assistant staff. They're there to help out as we transition from basketball to baseball. I do have a couple of nice assistants who come in and help us with our preseason conditioning and just get ready for the baseball season. So I think those two things help with being able to juggle both sports like that.
Hey, Coach, one more question and we'll let you go. But speaking of coaching jobs, there's been a lot going on around at Houston lately. And one bit of news I'm sure you're pleased with is that you have a new volleyball coach over there that just happens to be your daughter. And Misty Gibson is the new volleyball coach over there. How excited are you and her for that new role?
Well, I know she's real excited, and her mother and I are excited for her, very supportive. She's paid her dues. She's ready for this opportunity. She's going to take advantage of the opportunity. She's already in there getting things set up for the summer. We have the most confident, we're very confident that she's going to do a good job, and she's ready to take the bull by the horns and get started. And like I said, we're biggest fans for her.
All right, well, that's great stuff, Coach. Hey, listen, best of luck for the rest of the regular season and also in the tournament, and hopefully our Rushi Raiders will run into you on the tournament trail.
Thank you, and we appreciate being on, and yeah, we're looking forward to a nice tournament run and seeing what we can do.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, that was the head coach of the Houston Wildcats, Brad Allen, and a great question there asking him about the basketball and the baseball job together. And I don't know if he mentioned this. I don't think he did, but you also got to have a pretty understanding family, don't you?
I was going to say, the wife probably has to be okay with you not being home all that much. I know my wife would love it if I took up another job like that.
Oh, man, that's got to be something else. That's a heck of a task, and I'm sure he's got basketball camps to think about coming up, and we're not even done with baseball season yet.
Yeah, plus summer baseball too with that. It's a never-ending job as it is.
Absolutely. All right, well, listen, that's about going to wrap it up for us tonight. One thing we have left to do is that poll question you asked a little bit ago, so why don't you read that to our viewers again, and we'll check on the results.
Yeah, the question was, which baseball player is the toughest out in the SCAL? And so our results
we had 4 answers there. You have 4 very good hitters. Yeah. And TK, what Luke Albers, Jonah Counts, Dylan Hensley, or Travis Hilgefort?
It looks like I'm not showing. Here we go. Got to readjust everything after that phone call. Looks like the locals are jamming up the ways tonight because we got 60% say that Jonah Counts would be the toughest out. And then we've got Dylan Hensley gets 20%, and Travis Hilgefort gets the other 20%. So everybody likes Jonah on our poll question tonight.
Well, like I said, all 4 of those guys batting 400. I think they're all tough outs, aren't they?
Yeah, they're not easy, that's for sure.
All right, well, that's about going to do it for us tonight. And Kyler, I want to thank you for joining us on the show tonight. Hopefully you had fun.
Yeah, it was a blast.
And for our viewers out there that want to follow you, keep track of you, you actually have a website, don't you?
Yeah, hometownsportsheroes.net. Started as kind of just looking at our sports up here and doing some stuff with Dayton, and it's kind of turned into a leadership website is what I'm finding more and more of these lessons that I keep putting out there. But trying to get back into it a little more. Softball season took a lot of time away from me, but hometownsportsheroes.net. It's HSH Ohio on Twitter, and it's on Facebook as well. But articles going out at least a couple a week, and it's a lot of fun. It's an outlet for me to write, and that's one of my favorite parts of the job too. So it's a lot of fun. And Ohio HSH on Twitter, and Hometown Sports Heroes. .net.
And for anyone that can't find the link, if you go to the fishreportonline.com website, we have his link on there, so you can always find it on there as well. Awesome. We do want to say special thanks to our guest, Brad Allen, tonight for joining us. Of course, Kyler for joining us as well. Ken will be back next week sitting in that seat, and the Sound Room guys will be back as well. So until then, everyone have a great rest of the week, and good night.
Hanging at the fish report. 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 For your latest news in high school sports, tune in to the fish report. Don't need no bed, don't need no pole. When you tune in to the fish report. Hanging at the fish report.